So what's going on, guys? It's Boxing with Jay. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and you like this video below. It really does help me out. So if you do stumble across the channel, make sure you subscribe. So a fight I've been thinking about that should happen in the next couple of months is a fight between WBO middleweight champion Demetrius Andrade and WBC champion Jermall Charlo. And Charlo's came out recently saying that he wants the Andrade fight, that everyone needs to shut up, saying that he's ducking because he does want the fight. And oddly, he said he wants to fight Oscar De La Hoya as well. And he wants to fight Chris Eubank Jr., which also would be a good fight for Jermall Charlo. But this fight between Andre needs to happen. In any other era, this fight would happen. The middleweight division right now is very stagnant. There's not much buzz going on in terms of the highest level. And I believe Andrade and Charlo are the best fighters right now in that division. Obviously, you got Golovkin, but he's moving up to super middleweight to challenge Canelo. And you've got guys like Eubank and Murata, etc., etc. But I think these two are the best in the division. And I think they need to fight now, because it just makes total sense. And you've got Andrade, who signed with DAZN, but Eddie Hearn seems to have mentally checked out of the Demetrius Andrade business, and he's only got one fight left. He was meant to fight Zach Parker in Derby, but he pulled out with a shoulder injury. I don't think he really wanted that fight, Andrade. Not that I think that he was thinking he couldn't beat Zach Parker, but I don't think he could get up for it, in my opinion. I think he just said, you know what, I don't really want to go over to England against this guy in his backyard. I don't really know him. It's in a higher weight class. I think he's happy staying at middleweight with this WBO title, because at least then he has some leverage, you know, in the division, and it can help him still try and get these big fights, because he does want a big fight. He called out Chris Eubank Jr. recently, saying that he'd offered him $1 million for the fight, but Eubank's not going to fight somebody like Andrade for $1 million when he can fight somebody like Conor Benn, who's a smaller fighter, for 5 times the money in a bigger fight. So I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. is in the world title business. I think Chris Eubank Jr. is in the money business right now in his career. So I don't see why this fight can't happen. I think it's a very good fight style-wise. You've got Demetrius Andrade, who is a southpaw. He's a very awkward southpaw. He likes to fight low and throw big looping punches, Demetrius Andrade, but he's also very quick. He's also very sharp in the first few rounds of a fight, Demetrius Andrade, and he's very, very clever in there as well. It doesn't look like he is at times, Demetrius Andrade. At times, you know, he looks awkward and he looks like he's a bit all over the place. But his boxing IQ is very good, Demetrius Andrade, and it's very, very underrated. And he always finds a way to win. And I know he hasn't fought the level of opponents he should be fighting at this point of his career, but he always wins, and he wins comfortably against the level he's fought at so far. So it's going to be interesting to see how he steps up against somebody like a Jermall Charlo, who is a very good fighter, who is a classic boxer puncher, in my opinion, but he's always struggled with guys who are a bit slick, who are good on the feet. Jermall Charlo, in my opinion, and you know, there's been a few fights in the past. The Korobov fight is a good example of a fight where he struggled a little bit against a southpaw, a guy who was moving a little bit, and it threw him off in that fight. Obviously, he came back against Derevyanchenko, and he had a good win there. But Derevyanchenko is a guy who's a little bit more aggressive, and in his fight after that, he fought Montiel, was it? And he looked good in that fight as well against Montiel. Montiel was, you know, putting it on him there, but he was the one who was lighting him up, and he was landing the bigger, cleaner shots in that fight. But somebody like an Andrade, who's a southpaw, who's a little bit slick, who's a bit unorthodox, you know, it could throw Jermall Charlo off, but he does have punching power. He is a good boxer himself, and he is very underrated. So I think that's a very good 50-50 fight. I think that is a 50-50 fight. I would sit on the fence in that fight. I couldn't pick a winner in that fight, because both guys bring attributes to the ring that can throw each other off, because obviously Jermall Charlo will be the highest level opponent Andrade has ever fought in his career. Andrade has never fought a world champion. He's never even fought a former world champion, which is absolutely crazy to me, that he's never even fought a former world champion in his career, Demetrius Andrade. It's that bad in terms of the level of opponent. Don't get me wrong, he's fought a few good, fringe, decent level guys, you know, like Seleke and Liam Williams, people like that, but he's never had that pinnacle fight, Vanes Martirosyan, but he's never had that pinnacle level where he should be fighting at, Demetrius Andrade, so we can say, yeah, this guy is the real deal. This guy is a top world-class fighter. So I think this fight needs to be made by the end of the year. Even if we get it early next year, we need to get this fight put together in the next few months so we can see this fight and we can look forward to this fight, because this is a fight that just makes sense, and the middleweight division needs a fight like this to set a fire under its arse, because right now it is very stagnant. There's no big fights. Obviously, Charlo was meant to fight Seleke, a guy Andrade, schooled 2-3 years ago, like 12 rounds to 0, and Charlo was meant to make a defense against him, and that was a fight nobody cared about. Nobody wants to see Jermall Charlo at this stage of his career fight Seleke. Nobody wants to see that. They want to see him fight Golovkin. They want to see him fight Andrade. They want to see him fight even Chris Eubank. So we need to get these fights made now. No messing about. This fight needs to be finalised in the next few months. So hopefully, Jermall Charlo's being for real when he says he wants this fight. Hopefully Andrade, they can come together and they can get this fight happening. It needs to happen. So comment below in the comment section. What do you guys think? Do you want to see this fight? Do you think this fight makes sense like I do? Comment below in the comment section. Who do you think will win? Comment below. I'm out.